Somewhere out there is a website you forgot about, a forum you joined once, a shop you ordered from years ago, a service that quietly went out of business and never told you. You used a password there. It was a decent password at the time. And then one day, without you ever knowing, that site got breached and your email address and that password ended up on a list. Months later, maybe years later, someone you will never meet loads that list into a machine. The machine tries your email and that password against your real email account and it opens. Then it tries your bank and your bank uses the same password because you reused it and that opens too. You did nothing wrong today. The mistake was made a long time ago on a site you don't even remember and it just came due. This is credential stuffing. It is one of the most common attacks on the internet, and almost nobody outside security has heard the name. Let me show you how a single breach somewhere turns into someone standing inside 100 of your accounts, and why one reused password is the thread that unravels everything. What credential stuffing is. Credential stuffing is exactly what it sounds like. Attackers take a giant list of leaked username and password pairs, and they stuff them into the login form of some completely unrelated site to see which ones still work. The keyword is reuse. The attacker is not guessing. They already have a real password that a real person really used somewhere. They are betting that the person used that same password in more than one place. And over again, that bet pays. Where the lists come from. Every few weeks, a company gets breached and a database of accounts leaks out. Sometimes it's a famous brand. Sometimes it's a site you've never heard of. The records pile up, get traded, get merged, and eventually get compiled into enormous combination lists, often called combo lists. These aren't small. Some of the lists floating around hold billions of email and password pairs, scraped together from hundreds of separate breaches over a decade. By the time a list reaches an attacker, the original breach might be years old and long forgotten. The password you set in 2019 doesn't expire just because the company that lost it went quiet, and the lists keep getting richer. Every new breach adds fresh pairs, and the people who collect them cross-reference and clean the data, dropping dead entries and flagging the ones that look most likely to still work. What reaches an attacker isn't a raw dump anymore. It's a curated, deduplicated product, sorted and ready to feed straight into a machine. Why password reuse is the whole game. A normal person has dozens, maybe hundreds of online accounts. Remembering a different password for every single one feels impossible, so most people don't. They pick a password they like, maybe with a small twist, and they use it almost everywhere. That single human habit is the entire foundation of this attack. If everyone used a unique password on every site, a breach at one company would stay contained to that company. The leak would be a local fire. Reuse is what turns a local fire into a wildfire, because the same key now opens doors all over the internet. The math that makes it worth it. Here's the part that feels wrong until you sit with it. The success rate of credential stuffing is tiny. On most sites, only a fraction of 1% of the credentials in a list will actually work, but the lists are enormous. If you try 10 million leaked pairs against a site, and 1 in 1,000 still works, that is 10,000 live accounts from a single run against a single target. The attacker didn't crack anything. They didn't break any encryption. They just typed in passwords that were already valid at a scale no human could ever match. And a live account has value. It might hold a saved credit card, a balance, loyalty points, a gift card, a mailbox full of password reset links to everything else. The attacker doesn't need most attempts to succeed. At this volume, a rounding error of a success rate still pays. There's also a market on the other side. Working accounts get sorted by type and sold in bulk. A bank login worth more than a streaming login. A verified email worth more than a random forum seat. So even the accounts an attacker has no personal use for still turn into money. The economics only need volume and a list, and both are cheap. Automation at scale. No person sits there typing passwords. The whole thing is run by software, bots that hammer the login endpoint of a target site thousands of times a second, feeding in pair after pair from the list and recording which ones come back successful. This is industrialized. There are ready-made programs built to do nothing but this, with a screen full of live counters ticking up, hits and fails scrolling past. To the machine, it's just a loop. Load a credential, send it, read the response, log the result, move to the next one. The human who started it can walk away and come back to a folder full of working accounts, making the bots look normal. A site that suddenly gets 1 million login attempts from one computer is going to notice. So the attacker's real problem isn't trying the passwords. It's trying them without the pattern being obvious. And the way they hide is by spreading out. Instead of all the traffic coming from one address, the attempts get scattered across thousands of different addresses, often residential ones that look like ordinary home internet connections. Each individual address only makes a handful of login attempts, slow and quiet, indistinguishable from a real person typing their password slightly wrong. Blend in across enough addresses, and a flood of millions of attempts can be made to look like a normal Tuesday's worth of forgetful users. What it looks like to the victim. From where you sit, there is no event, no alarm, no broken window. One day your account simply belongs to someone else, or worse, it still belongs to you, and someone else is quietly inside it, reading your mail. Often the first sign is downstream. A charge you didn't make. A password reset email you didn't ask for. A friend telling you they got a strange message from your account. By then the attacker has usually been in for a while, and may have already used your real inbox to walk into everything connected to it, because so much of your life resets through your email. This is why the email account matters more than any other. It isn't just one account, it's the recovery point for all the rest. Control someone's inbox and you can request a reset for their bank, their shopping, their social accounts, and catch each reset link as it lands. One stuffed password on an email account can quietly become every account, which is the whole horror of the thing in miniature. How defenders catch it. The good news is that defenders are not blind, and credential stuffing leaves a very particular signature once you know what to look for. The whole defensive game is spotting the difference between a bot working through a list and a real person logging in. The cleanest tell is velocity. One account, one device, a few attempts, that's human. 10,000 different accounts all probed from the same patch of network in a few minutes, each tried exactly once, is not a human. That shape. Lots of distinct usernames each touched once is almost the fingerprint of a stuffing run. Impossible login velocity. There is a related signal defenders love, sometimes called impossible travel. Your account logs in from one city, and then 90 seconds later the same account logs in from another country, somewhere a human body could not physically have moved to in that time. That pattern is a strong sign the credentials are being used by more than one party. The real owner in one place, the attacker's bot somewhere else entirely. Systems watch for these physically impossible jumps and flag the account for a closer look, an extra check, or a forced password change. Bot detection and fingerprinting. Beyond timing, defenders study how the request behaves. A real browser driven by a real person carries a thick trail of signals, screen size, fonts, timing, the small imperfect human rhythm of typing. A bot script often arrives thin, too clean, too fast, repeating the exact same shape on every attempt. Device fingerprinting ties these signals together into an identity for the device itself, not just the account. So, when 1,000 different logins all share one suspiciously identical fingerprint, the site can see that it's really one actor wearing 1,000 masks, and it can challenge or block that fingerprint across all of them at once. Attackers know this, which is why they work so hard to vary their fingerprints and spread across so many addresses. It becomes a quiet arms race. The defender looks for sameness hiding inside apparent variety. The attacker tries to make a machine look like a crowd. But every layer the attacker adds costs time and money, and that cost is itself a kind of defense. Breached password checks. Defenders also play offense with the same data the attackers use. If a security team has access to the giant lists of leaked passwords, they can check whether their own users are sitting on a password that already appears in a known breach. When a password is found in a public breach list, the site can quietly require the user to change it before that password ever gets stuffed somewhere else. Some login systems now do this at the moment you sign in, comparing your password against billions of known leaked ones without ever seeing it in the clear. It's the same combo list, turned around and pointed back at the problem. The real circuit breaker. All of those defenses raise the cost and catch a lot of attempts. But there is one control that breaks the whole attack at its root, and it is multi-factor authentication. One-factor means a password alone is not enough. Even with your exact, correct, leaked password in hand, the attacker hits a second wall, a code from your phone, a prompt on your device, a physical key. They have the right key, and the door still won't open, because the lock now asks for something they simply don't have. For the great majority of stuffing attacks, that second factor is where the bot quietly dies. Why attackers chase accounts without it? Knowing this, attackers don't waste time. They run their lists, and they sort the results. The accounts that fall over with just the password are the prize. The ones that ask for a second factor mostly get skipped, because fighting that wall isn't worth it when there are millions of softer targets in the same list. So in practice, the attack flows around protection like water finding the cracks. It pulls wherever a real password still opens a door by itself. The accounts that get taken over are almost always the ones guarded by a password, and nothing else. The thread that unravels everything. Step back, and the shape of it is simple and a little unsettling. You have one habit, reusing a password. You have one forgotten site that leaks. And out of those two ordinary things, a stranger can end up holding 100 of your accounts, none of which they ever had to break into directly. The password itself is never the real danger. The danger is the reuse, the invisible wire running from that forgotten forum to your email to your bank. Cut that wire. Make every door need a different key, and one breach stays one breach instead of becoming all of them. What actually protects you? So here is the protective version, and it is genuinely within your control. Use a different password for every account that matters, especially your email, because your email is the master key that resets everything else. You cannot remember dozens of unique passwords, and you are not supposed to. That is what a password manager is for. It makes and stores a long, unique password for every site, so you never reuse one and never have to recall one. And turn on multi-factor authentication everywhere it's offered, starting with your email and your bank. That single setting is the circuit breaker that makes a leaked password just a dead password instead of an open door. One reused password is the thread that unravels everything, and a manager plus a second factor is how you cut it. If you want more of these, the systems running quietly under the internet taken apart from the inside, this channel is the place. Subscribe and follow the rabbit hole. Next time we get into one of the strangest little corners of fraud, where attackers don't steal anything at all, they just guess. It's called gift card cracking, how random numbers become free money. And once you see how the numbers work, you'll never look at the back of a gift card the same way again.